You have heard it said that the Moravian Music Foundation holds one of 10 known surviving copies of the first printing of the StarSpangled Banner. It's true. So how do we know this? Where is it? How was it discovered? What's the scoop on this wonderful story? In the 19th century, it was the practice to take your favorite printed sheet music and put them into a leather-bound volume, something like this. Now, this has acid-free paper around it to preserve it, but the leather-bound volume would look sort of like that. It's a little worn. The edges of the covers are scuffed up a bit. But inside this particular book are all sorts of piano exercises and waltzes and marches and everything else. Then you get a little farther into the book and you discover, before I say that though, let me just say that when I was in junior high and high school, I did the same thing, only I didn't have a leather-bound book. I had a loose-leaf notebook and a hole punch. But that's how I collected my favorite printed sheet music, and I still have some of those pieces, by the way, and occasionally I'll sit down at the piano and play through them just for fun. But in this book, we have the Star-Spangled Banner. And it looks like that from a distance. There's just 2 pages. There's music. There's words. Now, the interesting thing, though, is I'm going to tell you this is the first printing. How do we know that? Any kind of a musical scholar will tell you, Nola said so isn't good enough. How do I know that? I know it because Carl Kroger said so, and Carl would say, Nola, that's not good enough. So what Carl did was a lot of research to find out in 1975 that this was a first printing. We'll look at the details. So I said this was a first printing. How do you know? You're going to look at it and you're going to see there's no date. There's nothing down here. There's nothing over there. I'm not going to turn this page all the way over, but I assure you there's nothing on the other side or on the other side of the other page. There is no date to be found. Okay, we see that it was printed and sold at Carr's Music Store, 36 Baltimore Street. So we could go back in old city directories and the like and find out when Carr's Music Store was at 36 Baltimore Street. That might narrow us down to a few years, or if we're lucky, a few months. That doesn't help. We don't know how many. There might have been a lot of printings during those times that Carr's Music Store was there. Here's what happened. Carr saw that this was going to be big. He was hearing it sung all over the streets of Baltimore. He thought, I better get this thing in print quickly. It's going to be a hit. It's going to go platinum. I'm going to sell 1 million copies. So he did. What happens when you get in a hurry? You make a mistake. Look at that. That should say a patriotic song, and it says a periodic song. Makes me feel better about some of my own typos. Now that we've acknowledged that it's a first edition, he corrected it in the second printing. It's a first printing. How is it different from the version we know now? Well, the opening melody's different. What do we know? We know, oh, say, can you see? What do we see here? Oh, say, can you see? So even the very beginning is different. There are some other minor differences in the melody and harmony, and when you get all the way over to here, at the end, you have a little instrumental interlude, a little sinfonia or something. Now, that's kind of fun to hear. It's fun to play, but if you're going to sing all 4 verses, you need that interlude. This has got to be one of the most difficult national anthems to sing anywhere in the world, and sure enough, there are 4 verses. So where are other copies? If I say there are 10, where are the others? They're in the Library of Congress. They're in Indiana University's Lilly Library, the New York Public Library Music Division, the Pierpont Morgan Library James Fuld Collection, Johns Hopkins University Library Levy Collection, Wesleyan University Dietrich America Foundation, the White House, the University of Michigan's Clements Library, and a private collection last purchased in 2010. So we know of 10 copies of this. By comparison, there are 48 known copies of the Gutenberg Bible.